We are recording in all places and we are live. And theoretically, that should have sent out a message in...
All right, sweet.
Oh, that didn't send out a message like it was supposed to. Or maybe it's just slow and hasn't registered. I set up a bot that's supposed to automatically put an alert in Discord saying that we're live. But it doesn't look like it's going to do it.
Apparently this Mac doesn't have Discord, so I'm downloading it very quickly.
There you go.
Yeah, I rebuilt this one not too long ago.
All right. And I am streaming to the right profile, am I not? Maybe I should look to see on the... Well, there's an ad on the stream. Theoretically, Twitch is going to let affiliates get ad money. At least that's what they said.
Nice.
So I guess we're going to get some ad money. I don't know. I just show up. Charles worries about sending me money.
He worries too much.
Okay. Yeah, so we are live, though I need to move your zoom a little bit because there we go.
Which channel should I be in here?
For Discord?
Yeah.
So we're live on Twitch is where we got the Twitch chat.
Oh, okay. So I don't need my Discord for that.
Yeah. And no one is here yet.
Yeah, they heard I was joining there, like, screw this week. Got to talk about Cherry Wolf, but fine, if he's not joining us.
All right. See, I like it when Nicole or someone's in here because then they can be like, hey, you're coming in a little hot, or
sure,
help us. Oh, there. Okay. So apparently she's only here in chat. She's not
okay.
Her internet's spotty, so she's not watching it. All right. Well, if you're ready, let's go ahead and I guess...
Yes, sir. I am ready to go.
Let me figure out what we want to start off with first, though.
It's time for random trivia. Trivia.
Yes, Lady Jasmine, it is the Great Barry Fulk. All right. Whoa, what was that?
I accidentally knocked the microphone as I was trying to.
It sounded cool.
Cool.
All right. Are you ready, Barry?
Yes, sir. I am ready.
Hello, Athena-san and Squishy Twitchy. All right. Let's get this going. Ooh, wait a second. Who? Oh, the the bot finally got around to putting out the message. That's funny. I thought the other guy that was going to join us messaged, but he did not. Sorry. Now we really are going to start. Hello and welcome to the Pokemon GO Podcast, your number one source for news, reviews, and tips to help you catch them all. My name is Joseph Ard, and with me today is the best friend you wished you had, Barry Fulk.
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me on this week. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, he is one of the nicest guys I know. I can't stress that enough.
No, thanks. Well, you guys, I mean, this is a community that I discovered maybe about 6 months after I started playing. And it was one of those like, I'm playing. Why aren't I listening to a Pokemon Go podcast? I found you guys. And what was neat was that at the time I was listening to Brian on Coverville and a couple other shows. I'm like, wait a second, I know this guy already. So he was my gateway into you guys. Well, that sounds wrong. And quickly got to know you, Joe, and Charles. And as probably some of the people know that are listening, that I got to meet Charles that first year at Go Fest in Chicago. And I just got super lucky. I was in Chicago that week and have had the great opportunity to meet all of you over the years. So that's, to me, that's what Pokemon's really all about, is that community. And the fact that, we all got to, share time together in Chicago. It was awesome that you stayed here, and we had just a blast. I mean, just hanging out in the deck at night after the evenings and chatting. It was wonderful.
Oh yeah, 100%. Spending time, going to these live events is awesome in and of itself. But meeting people and making that connection is just that much better. And so yeah.
And even Charles.
Yeah, even Charles.
But like you guys did Dragon Con this year, and I was going to Atlanta for other reasons, and I realized, wait a second, I'm going to be in the Atlanta area. So reached out to Charles, said, hey, I'm going to be in the area. And he's like, Barry, you need to come and stay an extra day because we're doing the giant size team up. And I'm like, you're right, I do. And it was great because you were still there, and got to go to the barbecue and got to meet a bunch of the great people. Some of them are in the chat, like Nicole. And it was just such a great time to meet with everybody. And of course, we got into some raids and some good catching.
Yeah, I almost missed you because I had to take off early because I was working the next day.
Yep.
But yeah, I was so happy that you made it before I took off. So, and Charles, his wife loves to just be a hostess, so that's right up
phenomenal.
her alley.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but what has been your experience this past week?
Well, it has been busy. So for me, it's part of my travel theme. Last weekend was Community Day. I was in Fort Collins visiting my daughter. She goes to Colorado State University. And she plays not as frequently as I do, but what's nice is that when I'm out there, she's not like, what do you mean you're going to spend 3 hours catching Pokemon? She's totally cool with it. She actually just shopped, but it was just great to walk around. And that's what I love about some of these college campus areas. They are just loaded with stops and spawning, and it's just a great place to do Community Day. So I was out there, and I was just catching, just like normal. And what was neat was right at the end, these three young gentlemen came up to me, and they must have seen me with my phone out. And they're like, hey, are you playing Pokemon? I'm like, well, yes. I've gotten past the, any kind of embarrassment point. I'm like, yeah, I'm all in. I'm playing. And they're like, oh, hey, there's going to be, they're going to be doing another special hour afterwards. And I had actually not known that they were going to do the Galarian wheezing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Well, thanks. And they're like, cool. So we'll see you. There's like a little square there. We'll see you there in about a half an hour. Okay. And then they said, that's when the spawn will happen. And I wasn't really kind of putting two and two together. So went back, was grabbing some tea, just waiting because I'm like, okay, we'll meet at that time. It ended at 2:00, so they said about 2:30, and then I'm like, well, that's odd because now, of course, the spawns are all over the city because it started immediately after Community Day, and I think they got confused thinking it was starting at the end. And even though they've been playing for a while, they don't raid a lot, especially the higher level raids, because they're not themselves that high in levels. So I'm wandering around and I see a Galarian raid. I'm like, all right, well, I have to go in, right? And you've seen me, Joe. I've got my multiple phones out. So I'm sitting there. Oops, sorry. And I was able to get the first one. I was very excited about that. So I'm kind of walking around the square, and sure enough, there's the three kids, and they're like, "Oh, hey, you made it." I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh yeah, well, we still have like about 10 more minutes before it starts." I'm like, "No, you have 10 more minutes before it's over." And they like totally panicked. They're like, "Oh, okay, great. We'll jump in here." I'm like, "Well, I cannot because I just raided at that spot." So we had to walk a few minutes away. We found another raid, and it was really cool. And actually, of course, big surprise, they're all YouTubers, even though they're probably about 14 or 15. And
Everyone's
so
a
like, hey,
YouTuber these days, right?
yeah, exactly. And they're like, "Hey, do you mind if I record?" I'm like, "Oh, absolutely, it'd be fine." So it was great because between the counts that I had and the three of them, no problem taking it down. They were super excited they were able to get it. So I was able to get two, which was nice. And these are really cool. So those of you who have seen the Galarian Wheezing, it's this giant smokestack green stuff coming out. It's definitely unusual. And Joe, I know that's your area of expertise because I don't really know the generations and different forms and things like you do.
So the Galarian forms are from the newest release. So Sword and Shield just barely came out,
Okay.
and that's where it's from. So I don't know hardly anything about the new ones, but I also grabbed one. And what I did is I was actually raiding with a friend of mine, and we had a lucky trade queued up. So we actually just
Nice.
took our Galarian Weezings and said, swap. All right. So I ended up with a 98% Galarian Weezing, and he ended up with a 99% or 96%. So yeah, so it turned out real nice. And I also beat Sierra this past week. I'm still building up for my second rocket radar. I probably should have held off until I was further in the quest line, but I just wanted to battle. So I battled Sierra,
Sure.
and it took me a few different rounds to actually beat her. Because I actually was trying to do tanky Pokemon just like we had recommended on stream and
Right.
other people have recommended, and that didn't work for me. I don't know if I was just doing it wrong or what, but what I ended up doing is her first two Pokemon were ice types. So she had Sneasel, Lapras, and Alakazam was her last one. And so I tossed two Machamps at her, and I tossed a Tyranitar. And so the Machamps, yes, the charge move is good, but they don't necessarily need it to dish out damage. And so I was able to dish out the damage and burn through her blocks, her shields,
blocks.
and with the Machamps. And then when I got to Alakazam versus the Tyranitar, it was quick and easy because he had nothing to block Crunch. So built up Crunch, used Crunch, and bam, it was all over.
Sweet. Nicely done. Yeah, I'll have to try that one. Now, when you finished that one, what did you get the opportunity to catch? Do you remember?
Who was it? Let's see. Let me just search by shadow.
Yeah.
And it was the Sneasel. It was
Oh,
the
okay, cool.
Sneasel that she used at the beginning, which I think that's what it always is for her, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, because I haven't seen too many of the Articunos out there.
So the Articuno comes from Giovanni.
Yeah, I figure that's a Terry Wolf move.
Yeah, and so it's just been a fun week getting to play. I hatched a whole bunch of eggs because during Community Day, there was the quarter hatch distance, so I hatched a whole bunch of eggs. Surprisingly, though, I caught 70 or 80 Chimchars. I didn't find a single shiny.
Ooh, bummer.
So, and actually, we are now being joined
Hey,
by the one and only Scotty Moore.
hey, Scott.
You there, Scotty? Oh,
Oh, saw him for a moment.
maybe. So he is supposedly going to be joining us, but seems to be having some brief technical difficulties with his audio. Scotty is someone that I met at Dragon Con,
Nice.
and I'm going to need to
Yep.
adjust our cameras.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, I was I was just really walking all over Fort Collins when I was doing community day, and obviously wanted to get the shiny. So and I know sometimes there are people that are pro gotchas and people who aren't, but there are times when you're just walking around, you just want to let stuff catch in the background. And I found it to be actually very effective. At some point, you end up getting those. I mean, you're going to burn through a lot of regular balls, but if you're in an area where it's congested, or if maybe you're just doing something else and you're like, well, let it kind of catch in the background, it's been helpful. And I've actually found it to be more successful than just standard catching.
Oh,
So, so I did end up getting one, which was nice, and I then evolved it to the Infernape shiny.
very nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a few Infernapes from Community Day, but um, nothing. Yeah, like they've got decent stats, but other than that, I didn't get a shiny. But you know, maybe I'll get
Yeah.
one in December.
Well, and I always like to take one, one of them to evolve to get the special move set, but almost always the catches I have from Community Day are kind of eh. So I did fortunately have one a Chimchar from before that was like 90 some percent and evolved that up. So I've got the blast burn on a pretty powerful one, which that was nice. So I've got one shiny, one powerful, and I'm pretty happy with that. So it was a pretty good community day. I was pretty happy with it. Um, and I know we'll talk later about December's in a bit, but looking forward to that. But it was good. And just in general, I'm pleased that they've been keeping a lot of activities going on. They've really been trying to keep some level of activity going on almost every week, and I think it's good for the community, especially this time of year. Um, out here in Chicago, we already had snow, so it's starting to get a little harder for us to get out and about and do some of these raids and certain other things. So by doing the special events and such, it's been really keeping me engaged, which I appreciate.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Um, Now this first thing, like we talked about the raid hour, um, the next thing to talk about is something that was actually announced yesterday. So the on our list of stuff, it's called prepare for increased Team Rocket activity. So if you happen to go over to our subreddit, that is on our subreddit. It's reddit.com/r/Pokemon GO Podcast. And we put all of our sources over there. And so this was announced just yesterday. And Barry, did you want to give a quick rundown of what this announcement is? Do you have that pulled up?
I am on mute. Was that community day for the month?
No, this is so prepare for increased Team Rocket activity.
Ah,
This is a event that's starting on the 24th, but they don't actually have a end time on this. They've just said that Team Go Rocket Grunts are taking over every Pokestop for the duration. Oh wait, they don't have an end time or end date because they have an end time. It's a 2 hour
oh yeah,
window.
yeah. So
That's
it's
what I'm
11
missing.
a.m. Yeah, it's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in your local time zone. So basically, what they're saying is that the grunts will be taking over every Pokestop for the duration. So this will be a good chance because I know some of the special research items and quests require those. I think there's a 6 or 10 that you need, and certainly if you want to upgrade your badges, this is a great opportunity because I was actually looking last night to get some, and there were none in the area. So that'll be good. So you want to collect the grunts. And this is also for those of you who haven't had the radar, you need 6 of the mysterious items. So this will be a good chance to catch up on those and just kind of work on your collecting of shadow Pokemon. I know I've gotten about halfway to 100. I've gotten about 50 some right now. And I really want to get to 100 badge so I can complete that. So this will be a good opportunity. So that'll be what I'm doing. And then I think it'll be really, really pretty cool. For those of you who have received all 6 and have done the radar. So Joe, do you not have the radar yet? I don't see it on your screen.
I've gotten one,
Okay.
but I used it. So once you use it, it disappears and you have to get it again.
When you use it for Giovanni or the leader, or
so when I used it for Sierra, it disappeared.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, so I guess
so now
I've been totally trashed by the leaders. I still have it in my my screen.
Yeah, so I'm now collecting pieces to compile a new one.
Okay.
And you can also buy them in the store for 200. Yeah, for 200 coins. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was really torn. I know we're going back a few weeks when they had the special event for $8. I was like, do I really want to do that? I'm like, well, sure, right? I mean, they know that I'm the kind of person that's going to want everything early. But it was a little bit annoying because I had the coins. If they had converted them into a certain number of coins, I could have probably done it that way.
Yeah, if they had made it available in coins, then I would have done that as well.
Yeah.
And it looks like Scotty will not be joining us, or at least he's left the chat. He could not fix his audio issues. So I'm going to switch us back to the previous one we were using, and we will go from there. But yeah, so being able to get all of these will be great for getting combining the pieces into so that you can battle the different gym leaders or sorry, not gym leaders, the rocket leaders. But yeah,
and I like kind of the way they did. They've been doing a couple things that I'm glad they're not always just looking for coins, right? Like some of the poses and some of the stuff in the style shops, you have to use coins for, and it's like I get it, but also I wish they had some more options that were tied in. So when they did the Galarian, they had a few of those things for free, which I thought was nice. Now, if you did spend the $8 for the special event, you did also get a special pose in the backpack. Or actually, the backpack was glaring, but you got the special pose. Silly as it is.
Exactly. But they do what they're gonna do.
Well, yeah, I think $3 billion later, they know what they're doing,
or at least they know how to make money off of it.
Well, and it's if you to talk about that for just a sec. I enjoy games. I play a lot of the Lego games on Xbox. I play various other games here and there, but this one has kept me for 3+ years. Right? It was 2016, I think, in June or July, and I really enjoy it because you can do the quick, play for just a couple minutes on the way to work. Stop. There's a nice park by my house that's got some stops in a gym, or if I want to do community days and spend a few hours, I can do that as well. And I've really enjoyed what that's all become. So it's got a long tail ahead of it. So,
yep. And with sorry, excuse me. With all of this, being able to spend money or not, you can play it how you're going to play it. But one thing that you definitely should do is when you get around, hopefully after this rocket event, when you get around to facing off against Giovanni, you need to make sure that you activate a star piece on it. Have you seen the numbers on that?
No.
Okay, so the Stardust rewards are so you get to Giovanni if you line it all up right. So if you beat Looming in the Shadows when you beat Giovanni, which theoretically that should line up.
Right.
So beating Giovanni is 5,000 Stardust. Finding Giovanni in and of itself is 2,500 Stardust. Completing Looming in the Shadows, the 5th step, is 3,000 Stardust. The bonus complete on Looming in the Shadows 4 out of 6 is 2,000. And so throwing a Stardust on that, you're talking, what is that, 12,500.
Nice.
So combine that with a Stardust and yeah.
Double that up. Yeah. It's like 25,000 or something.
Well,
That's sweet.
Is the Star Piece double? I thought it
Well,
was
it's
just
50%.
50%.
You're right.
Yeah.
So 19,000. Yeah. But that's great because I'm not sure about you. If you're a Stardust hoarder or,
No, I spend, I haven't been powering up stuff lately, so I've actually got, 380,000 almost, which
right.
is nothing compared to some people. There's a guy that we're going to talk about later that has a ridiculous amount of Stardust. But for now, we're talking about Team Rocket. Our very own Jacket K has put together a nice little infographic to help you know which Pokemon are going to pop up in the grunt battles.
Oh, nice.
And so it has all the different quotes, and then it shows which Pokemon specifically you can catch, and then which Pokemon you can fight but can't catch. And so it's a pretty good breakdown. There's actually only one type of Rocket member where you can actually get a Snorlax off of it. So, Charles probably won't be getting another Snorlax anytime soon. But
poor Charles.
What's nice though is if you get a Team Rocket grunt that says "Let's rock and roll," it's guaranteed that it's going to be a Shadow Larvitar that it spits out.
Oh, sweet. That would be nice. Can never have too many Larvitars.
That's for sure. Especially because this next Community Day,
yes,
it's going to be the end of year Community Day. And
I think we were kind of all expecting this, right? That they did this last year.
But yeah, they did do this last year, but what's nice about it, because I wasn't sure if they were just going to include the Pokemon from this past year or if they were going to include Pokemon from both years.
Right. And this time they're going to do both 2018 and 19. And I think that's
sort of,
not all of them.
Yeah. So, the increased spawns are just the 20. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's just this year's Pokemon, but they specifically said in the announcement that the eggs that you can hatch will include Pokemon from both years. And there's special 2K eggs that you can hatch during the event that include any of the Community Day Pokemon. But they also specified, where is it? I know I read it. So evolving during this Community Day will provide exclusive moves featured during 2018 and 2019.
Yeah, and that's good because if you missed a month or several months, this is your opportunity to get your complete move set. And for me, that was great because I missed October, so I'll be looking forward to that. And it's got the half egg distance, so that's good. So if the 2K eggs really become 1K, and theoretically, then you could drop, right?
Yep.
And really shorten that out, and then just keep hatching like crazy. Because for a while there, it's been a little rough. That the hatching's been a little not been the greatest. This will be exciting just to kind of clear out your eggs, get some new stuff, especially if you're missing some things. So I think this will be a pretty exciting one, and it really covers both days, Saturday and Sunday this year.
Yeah, and they actually split it up a little bit between Saturday and Sunday, which spawns are which. So on Saturday, the increased spawns are Swinub, Totodile, Trico, Torchic, Bagon, and Slackoth, whereas Sunday is Mudkip, Turtwig, Chimchar, Trapinch, and Ralts. And the eggs actually have some differences in them as well. So the ones that you can catch on their respective days show up in the eggs for those respective days. But then the 2018 Pokemon for Saturday showing up in eggs are Bulbasaur, Charmander, Pikachu, Mareep, and Dratini. Whereas the ones showing up on Sunday in the eggs are Squirtle, Eevee, Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Beldum. And I know a lot of people are, at least for me, the things I'm most excited about are evolving some more Larvitar and some more Beldum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, get the Metagross and get some really good tanky stuff and get that with Meteor Mash, because that'll be a huge, huge one for PvP.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Meteor Mash is... There's a reason why he shows up in a ton of the different raid guides that we have. You definitely grab as many of the Meteor Mash Metagross as you can.
Yeah. No, it'll be good. And then the exclusive moves, pretty much you can do that any time from 9 a.m. to 9 a.m. Saturday morning all the way through 9 p.m. Sunday night. So that's good. So you can kind of do that. When you're done raiding, you're back at home, and catch up with that, make sure that you get all your moves.
Yep. Yeah. So,
but I saw the Eevee. If I may do it, Charles, if I see one more Eevee with a flower on its head, I'm done. No more filthy casual. I'm out of here.
Oh, the hippie Eevee.
Yes.
He is permanently scarred from the hippie Eevee.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was too much.
So, and like you said, there's the half egg hatch distance. But then there's also 2 times catch Stardust and 2 times catch experience as well. At this point, the experience is meh for me, but that Stardust, I always like seeing that Stardust on there.
Yes. So
well,
apparently, chat. Terry Wolf doesn't get too crazy and start snorting it all again and ends up in the hospital.
And chat is missing Charles. Your impersonation is making him miss him. So
we do all miss Charles.
We've actually got a question here in chat from worst_nightmare06 asking if we can use TMs on Pokemon that are already fully evolved in order to get the Community Day moves. In the past, that has not been possible, and it doesn't say that it's possible in the announcement, so I would assume
I wouldn't
not.
think so. I think it was we maybe the first 1 or 2, you were able to do that, right? But then they turned it off.
I know of.
Yeah. I thought there was something you kind of got away with maybe the first Community Day.
There was one Community Day. Oh, maybe with Ralts. Ralts' Community Day wasn't it Ralts had 2 moves? There was one Community Day that had 2 moves. Maybe it was Torchic? I don't know. There was one Community Day where it actually had 2 moves, and if you used a charged TM, it would go to the secondary move automatically.
Nice.
And so I'm thinking that was Torchic because there was a fire move and there was a fighting move. So I'm pretty sure it was Torchic, but I'm sure someone in chats or someone's I know it because I do it myself. Someone is sitting on the podcast listening and they're like, "You idiot! It was this."
Right.
But yeah. So
well, make sure you email Joseph_Ard at.
You can send us your messages telling me how dumb I am by going over to Twitch and going to @Pokemon GO Pod. So
Joe, you know more about Pokemon than I could ever hope to learn. And in all sincerity, I do appreciate that because you have that history. I didn't really. I mean, I've heard of Pokemon, but until Pokemon Go came out, I really didn't know much about it. Now it's become. As some of you may know, I have an addictive personality, and this is now my current addiction.
Yep. And there's not really a good way to transition to this, but I think it's worth mentioning. Niantic, within the past couple of weeks, rolled out their announcement about how they're going to handle sponsored stops. And we talked about that on the show. And with that, there are some sponsor stops that are gone now because they have not been re-upped. So the
Oh,
Sprint gyms and Pokestops are officially gone from the game.
wow.
So
That's actually
yeah,
too bad for me because there's a couple that were near here. They were the Boost Mobile, I think was one of their subsidiaries.
yep.
Yeah, so that's unfortunate. I assume Starbucks is still in.
I haven't heard that they're not, so I'm assuming
Okay,
yes. I don't drink coffee, so I don't go to Starbucks. But
I don't either. Yet I still do.
but yeah. So with that, whenever a gym disappears, um, give it a few days, and your Pokemon will automatically come back. And any EX raids that were scheduled get canceled. It's
Wow.
unfortunate, but that's how it happens. So, but yeah.
Now I may be off on this. I thought I read somewhere on a blog or one of the sites that other companies can now apply to be sponsored stops, and it wasn't unreasonable, like maybe 300 some dollars a month to
Yeah,
do that.
so it was it's actually cheaper than that. It's like well, it depends on which version you want. And we talked about this a couple weeks back, and I had referenced it. But if I'm remembering correctly, it's like $30 a month is what it boiled down
Oh,
to.
well, hey, guess what? I'm putting one out in my house now.
Yeah. So here, let me pull up the that
Come on, giant size team up. Let's
it's
go.
my bad. So yeah, I know, right? We'll
Yeah,
need one at
we'll do
Charles's
a
house.
Patreon level. Yeah, Charles he's got the fire pit right in the front of his house.
I'm sure they've got some conditions on that as well, but it's the information is nianticlabs.com/sponsored locations, and it's towards the bottom where it actually tells you what it is. So it's the standard subscription is $1 a day, aka billed $30 monthly, and the premium subscription is $2 a day, so $60 monthly. The premium, for those that don't remember, the so standard gives you a Pokestop
Right.
and allows you to actually alter the image and the description up to once a month. And the premium subscription gives you um, a gym. I don't know why I was blanking on that. And you can do a. It says 1 hour of traffic driving special mini game per month. It
Hmm.
and then it gives an example, which is a scheduled raid battle. I wonder what other options that lets you have.
Oh, so maybe raids or the shadow with Team Rocket. That'd be kind of cool.
Hmm, interesting.
I may have to look into this. Dear, I need a Christmas present, but don't get me anything. I will take a Pokestop in my house, please.
There you go. And then just leave the your new gotcha evolve on
Yes.
all
So,
day. How
so
are
since
you?
you bring
Do
that
you have
up,
that? Yeah. Do you have
no.
it?
So,
Okay.
yeah, I was actually on another show talking about gifts for Christmas, and it's kind of a running joke that when I'm on podcasts, I will talk about Pokemon somewhere. And I thought, you know what? I've got the original Gotcha here, and I've had it for a couple years. And I mean, like I said, some people like it, some people say it's not cool. I'm obviously fine with it, and I think it encourages more playing because I know that there are times I cannot actively play, but I'm in a good area, so I get some catches. Like I said, the shinies. So I
Well,
went to the
and when
site.
you've got like 6 phones going at once.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Joseph. Um, that but you're right, and so hey, I'm benefiting the economy, right? That it's really cool. And I'm like, all right, well, let me get a link so I can put it on the show notes. And so I go to the site, and so there's a gotcha company, and they've got a new app or I don't know if it's new to update the firmware, which was good. But then they take you over to Code Junkies, and those are the people that actually make and sell the gotchas. And all of a sudden, I'm like, Gotcha Ranger and this Gotcha Evolve, and the Evolve is a nice color screen. It's a larger screen with a wristband and a regular charger, and I'm like, oh, I need this right away. And Amazon had it, so I could, because it's I think they're based out of the UK, and so but Amazon had it, and it was Prime, and I'm like, click the button, it will be here tomorrow before 9. So I'll let you know how it goes. But it's again, it's really cool. And if you have a friend that plays and they don't have one, it might be a cool Christmas gift to them.
There you go. I've heard that the battery is slightly less than the normal gotcha, but that's probably because it has a lot of
Sure.
neat graphics that are displayed, and from the looks of it, the display in and of itself is a little bit bigger than the original gotcha.
Yeah, it's got some more features. It's got step count built in, and it actually will show the battery level, which the current one I don't believe it does. So, I mean, I got into the habit of pretty much putting on a charger each night, and frankly, I'm surprised that all my gotchas have lasted without problem. I mean, they can go days without charging. Works really well, so they're well built devices.
There you go. Yeah, see, I've always preferred the haptic feedback from the Plus.
Right.
Just being able to actually feel myself push a button.
Hmm.
So, but I mean, if you got auto spin on and stuff like that, then it is what it is. But
yeah, and it's one of those things. And again, it could be argued that is it fair or not. When I have the thing running all day and I'm in the area that I'm in, I go through a ton of balls. But if you're in a densely populated area, so if I'm downtown Chicago or I was traveling recently in some other major metropolitan areas, there are so many stops that you actually will end up collecting a ton of Pokeballs, which is kind of nice. So, collect a whole bunch, and then you use them over a few weeks. And, that's the beauty of this game is you can spend money if you need to. You can also work the system so you don't really have to. And it's enjoyable either way.
Yep. And one thing I do wish with the gotcha or the Plus, I mean, their underlying functionality is, as far as the game goes, is the same. Right. Because what's transmitted it's just piggybacking off of what the Plus can do. Anyway, what I really, really wish, and I've wished for 3 years, is that while you're manually catching, it would let you spin stops with the Bluetooth device. Especially on Community Day.
I think it does. You can turn off the catch, I thought.
So, no, you can turn off the catch. But if you're manually catching, like if you go to the catch screen, the Plus is deactivated. Because what happens...
Oh, because it won't spin for you.
Yeah, my theory is, and it's... there's evidence to back up the theory, but basically your GPS information is disabled while you're catching. And the reason I say there's information to back that up is because there are documented cases where spoofers have gone somewhere, clicked on a Pokemon, gone back to their original location, caught the Pokemon, and it registered as being in that new location.
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, they could get a Tropius and have it show caught in Detroit. And stuff like that.
And that's not right. Now that's cheating.
100%. Spoofing is definitely cheating, and you will get banned for it. The gotcha, you will not get banned for.
Well, and they sell the original device, right? I mean, that's actually put out by Niantic, so I agree with you.
They're not making any more pluses. Now, they do have the Pokeball Plus that you can buy.
Right.
And there are rumors that a new Plus version is going to be coming out, but we don't have a lot of details on that. So, but speaking of other things that have gone away, you may have noticed that you haven't seen any Yamask since Halloween.
That is true.
And it has been officially confirmed, even though Niantic has never said anything. But Niantic Indigo, which is one of the Niantic support people that is charged with actually going on Reddit and answering questions, they have confirmed that Yamask is not in the wild, completely gone, and that was fully intended. It was intended to be an exclusive um, spawn for the Halloween event. I
Yeah,
wish I wish
it
they
was
had
pretty
communicated.
cool. Yeah, exactly, because you didn't know it was going to go away.
Yeah, yeah. I wish they had communicated it a lot more. Um, and Jacket K mentioned specifically that the Go Plus and the Pokeball Plus are made by the Pokemon Company, but the Gotcha is a third party, and that's why people frown on it. Ultimately, people have hacked their, which I mean, people frown on this
Sure.
too, but they've hacked their Plus. That was happening like day one of the Plus getting released. People opening it up and um, what they were doing it was rerouting the wire from the
Hmm.
vibrate
Right.
into the input for the button press, so that the vibrate would instead of vibrating would trigger the catch or the spin.
Sure. Yeah. That's brilliant. You should be rewarded for that type of reverse engineering.
Yep. Or they modified it so that they could put a USB chargeable battery in it, and yeah, there's been all kinds of stuff that people have messed with, and there's actually a bunch of other third party Bluetooth devices that you could get that are apparently compatible. I haven't seen anybody use them, but I was looking at the Gotcha Evolve on Amazon. I did a search for it, and there was a whole bunch of other ones that came up that I had never heard of, and I was like,
Hmm. Hmm.
okay.
Well,
So,
it's too bad that Pokemon Go is dead.
yep, $3 billion. They got buried
Mhm.
in it and suffocated.
Yep.
um, so someone who was it that made this infographic for us? Um, I will find it in just a minute. But someone put together an infographic for Wayfarer. We talked a lot about that last week um, with Rob Roberts, but it's a nice little infographic of what to do and what not to do with Wayfarer, specifically when submitting points of interest. Do you see this infographic you got that pulled up,
Yep.
Barry?
Yeah. So that looks really cool that you can see where you've got the different. I'm trying to see where it is. I lost the screen here. So yeah, you want to take a good photo on this, which makes sense, right? You don't want garbage going in there. Um, don't go onto residential properties, which okay, so trying to tell me not to take a picture of my own place. But there are places around here that I'm surprised are not, because they've got some really beautiful statues. They've got some really cool public points of interest in parks that are completely unmarked. So I think that's a good way to do that. And then, they give you some other tips about how to learn about how to grid it out, which is really interesting. So if you want to get into the details, this is a great infographic. But then also describe it, right? Don't just say, hey, it's a cool place or that we need more stops in our community. Just tell them exactly what it is, why it's important. I know one of the interesting things that they do here in the Chicago area is they have historical markers. And so they'll famous people that may have been there, visited, or passed away. But those kind of cool history things tend to make good Pokestops. And there's a statue park on the north side of Chicago that's just littered with them. So those are the kind of things that they're looking for. So definitely a great way of getting into that community. I've been reading a little bit more about this whole Wayfarer thing, that it's, you want to not just submit, but you also want to be a reviewer, be a good member of that Wayfarer community, and really try to just encourage people to submit them, so that we're all part of this. And we just don't want to submit junk, right? And I think you said this
Mm-hmm.
last week. You don't want to just clog up the system with a bunch of, hey, this was cool. Yeah, no, it's not. It may be cool to you, but think about the bigger community. One of the things in the area that I'm in is the original McDonald's used to be here. And so the
There you
original
go.
McDonald's for a long time was a Pokestop. Uh, Sadly, they actually tore it down. It wasn't in good shape, but they moved it to a McDonald's nearby, and they actually moved the Pokestop along with it because they have a model of that original McDonald's. So that's cool history. Even if it's McDonald's, it's still the first one.
That
So
is pretty neat.
get out there and do that. Yeah. So Joe, that's level 40 people right now only.
Yeah, level 40.
Okay.
And then, or if you're Ingress, I think it's level 13 13.
13, I think it's top. Yeah.
Um,
So
but yeah, and make sure that whatever text you put in there, it actually just describes the point of interest that you're saying. Like, don't mention Ingress, don't mention Pokemon Go, don't say, hey, please accept this, I need more stops, or anything like that.
right.
Mention why the location should be considered for a stop or for a point of interest in the games.
Yeah, and use your spell check and grammar check and make sure it's very professionally written. I think that'll get more attention, and that'll probably have a better chance of being approved.
Yep, most definitely.
Yep.
Yup. Now, right now, the EX raid passes are for Regigigas, and our good friend El Gringo Suave is back with his Flork of Cows raid counters for the raid counter guides. So we have a raid counter guide here for Regigigas, and I absolutely love this one.
That one is brilliant. Oh my. Okay, then I think we know what to use here.
Yeah,
It's
so
all about the Machamp.
exactly. It's just Machamp. Just
Yeah.
throw Machamps at it, punch him in the face with Machamp. And then underneath it, in quotes, it says, I'm not cool enough to use Champ. And
Right.
so it's got Hariyama, Breloom.
I'm not sure what that one is.
I'm blanking on his name. Toxicroak, I think.
Okay, and then the Blaziken.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, Blaziken. So, yeah, it's Toxicroak and then a Blaziken. And then if you'll notice, actually up at the top, on top of Regigigas, is another Pokemon. Do you see which one that one is?
I'm looking and I can't quite see what it is.
So that is actually Conkeldurr, who isn't in the game yet, but when Conkeldurr is added to the game, is going to be a better fighting type Pokemon. The game, basically.
Nice.
But yeah. So and then so we've got an in chat comment here from a couple of them actually from Dragon Knights specifying a bunch of different bugs that they've had in game, and to a certain extent I've seen several of these as well. So some of the bugs that they've mentioned, which I mean as a player it frustrates me, but as a programmer I get it. So
Sure.
the first one here is losing GPS signal and getting disconnected from a raid, even though you're still right next to the gym.
Right.
And then if people don't jump out for you, you lose your raid pass because you might not be able to take it down by yourself. There's another one that, so when you first get into the raid, the Go gets stuck up on the screen, and so you lose a bunch of seconds in the raid.
And Dragon Knight saying he lost 18 seconds, which really does make a difference when you're doing these raids. I've gotten them anywhere you're down to the last 10 seconds or so, and you're like, oh, if I just had 3 more seconds, I would have completed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good point.
And the other example he gives is that when your first party dies, it takes forever to load up your new party. I kind of wish that you could queue up a backup party,
right?
So that you could just be like, boom, automatically jump back in with my backup party, or just tell it automatically use whatever you suggest. Just let me back in and fight it.
Now, wasn't there a way you could kind of hack this by setting up a blank group?
Yeah,
starting it that way.
Yeah, so the couple of seconds that you lose from the Go, you can mitigate that by a second or two by setting up a blank preset team, telling it to use that team. It will automatically kick you out. Assuming your phone is fast enough in the transition, you'll gain a couple of seconds off of that, because usually you lose about 4 to 5 seconds from the Go.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen it where the Go just sits there and hangs, and it's extremely frustrating. It's like, come on, come on.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Losing that time is pretty big. Um, every
Man,
second
Dragon
counts.
Knight's making me feel bad. I really wish got those 18 seconds. Lost out on Pinsir, Aerodactyl, and 2 Espeon raids. Oh man, that's rough.
That is rough. That is rough. But yeah, talking about raids, we also have an infographic here from um, for Terrakion, who is going to be coming out. Um, when is that coming out? It's pretty soon here. Next week, I think.
Yep. Think so.
Maybe I should just check the infographic from Wonderful One as well to see when Terrakion is coming to raids. So Terrakion starts on November 26th in raids.
Oh yeah, so 5 days. Excellent.
Yep. So this upcoming week we're gonna get Terrakion raids, and basically what you want to use is Psychic type Pokemon, Grass type Pokemon, or Metagross. I mean that's it depends on the weather. So the guide here has weather boost for you, but regardless of the weather boost, Mewtwo is always good. So,
Now, is it Mewtwo with Shadow or just Mewtwo in general?
Mewtwo with Psychic or Psycho Cut, actually. So double Psychic Mewtwo is what you want to use against it.
Nice.
And then Metagross is always good against it as well. And then depending on the weather, it moves around the efficacy of each Pokemon. But you can't go wrong with grass, water, or fighting types as secondary Pokemon to use. So, but when in doubt, just throw Mewtwo at it.
Sounds like a plan to me.
So
now, if they just have more Mewtwo's available for me to catch.
Yep. My friend that I talked about him at the beginning, that I traded my Galarian Weezing with, he actually has a shiny Mewtwo on each of his accounts that has Shadow Ball on both of them, and he's waiting to get Lucky Friends between his two accounts to trade it to each other. So
very cool. Nice. Yeah. That's the way to do it. Gotta do those lucky trades.
Yep. So we're currently in Super Effective Week, and that part of that is the release of shiny Tentacool and Tentacruel. And did you actually mention that you grabbed one of those just before the show?
Yeah, on the way home, I was able to grab a shiny Tentacool, so I will probably evolve it up. It's not the strongest; it's got good defense, but it might be actually worth for, like you were saying, tankiness in the Rocket Leader raids. So I might give that a shot for the fun of it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then, so we talked about we talked about Terrakion coming in on the 26th. So Cobalion is going away.
Yep.
And then on the 27th, the Friend Fest is starting. So that's got increased spawns for the Nidoran families. It's going to have half Stardust for trades. And you can do up to 2 special trades per day. And then also...
I think that was good timing, like you were saying, with Thanksgiving. People are traveling. Get a good chance to do a couple exchanges instead of just the one.
Exactly. And then the attack boost when raiding, which you already get an attack boost, but it's even higher. So like I said before, I'm expecting to see some interesting videos of what wasn't possible before.
Right.
So like, I can now solo this guy solo, not really, because you wouldn't get the attack boost. We can now duo.
duo Mime Jr. attacking a Cobalion.
Exactly. And so, yeah. So that'll be fun. And we already talked about Community Day, but I don't think we actually specified the dates. That's December 14th and 15th. So that's a Saturday, the second Saturday and Sunday of December. So that should be a lot of fun there as well.
If we're not covered in 2 feet of snow here in Chicago.
It'll probably be like 80 degrees here.
Uh,
All right. No, not really. That's a bit of an exaggeration.
might be
But
where Charles is, though.
yeah, no, it was in the 50s today.
Nice.
So cold.
Shush. Joseph, you're fired.
But so it's been a couple of years, but we had reversal on early on in year one of Pokemon Go, and
Right.
he put out a post on Sylph Road today talking about a Japanese trainer, Kaya Rorina, hit 1 million catches,
Wow.
and is, as far as we know, is the first trainer to accomplish this milestone, to hit 1 million catches.
1,000,004 is your screenshot. Walked 20,000 kilometers and won 76,000 battles. Now that is amazing.
Yeah. And Reversal, actually, the top comment, he breaks it down. He said, in order to pull this off, he had to catch over 800 Pokemon every single day since the game launched.
Yeah. That's dedication, or it's
Yep.
crazy. I'm not sure. But I mean, you hear of some of these people that the number of catches or their experience. That one person that was at Go Fest Chicago, I think from South Korea, that has the most experience points of anybody hit a billion or something. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, I do think that dedication is amazing, but it's also like, wow,
Well,
that's a lot of time.
apparently there's a station, um, Kinshicho Station, where
Mhm.
apparently it's easy to catch 200 Pokemon per hour there.
Wow.
So
Yeah. I mean, in some of these train stations by themselves will have multiple stops, but then if you have some of those historical things, or especially in Japan, I mean, for business, I've been there a couple of times, and it is every intersection is just like 4 gyms, tons of Pokestops. I mean, that's literally a place that I couldn't get rid of my Pokeballs because it was just constantly catching and stuff. So it is definitely a fun place to play. And so I'm not surprised.
yeah, that's rather impressive.
Yeah.
So this one is more of a discussion. Have you played any of the main series games, especially
Nope.
the more recent ones? Okay,
Nope.
so a user on Reddit by the name of Dusky Xlops posted a question as a discussion item. If people would like to see Wonder Trade get added to Pokemon Go. So for those of you that have not played the main series game, Wonder Trade is where you just send a Pokemon into to trade. You just put it into a pool to trade, and you get a random Pokemon from somebody else. You have no idea what you're gonna get.
So it's not the usual trade where you know exactly what you're getting.
Exactly. So it could be, something from Japan where you just got a huge amount of distance on your distance medal, and it would just
Cool.
be a complete surprise. And so, like, for instance, Wonder Trade, you could just grab a whole bunch of Tauros and go bloop, 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 bloop.
Right.
Toss them into the ecosystem. So it could ruin Pokemon Go to a certain extent, but it could be really neat. I mean, it would be an awesome surprise that, oh, I just got a Tropius. I didn't have a Tropius before.
Right.
Something like that. Now, and if they did do it, they could restrict it so you couldn't do regional Pokemon, but
Right. Or it could, like, a certain number. I assume they'll limit like the number you could do a day.
oh yeah, I would assume that as well. And what I would really like before this, and I've said it before, is that if you become Lucky Friends, you should be able to trade long distance with Lucky Friends.
Totally agree.
So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because like you look at someone like Nicole here, who's in Austria. I have another friend who lives there, and it's like we can't do anything. I have people that I work with in Japan, and there are several of them that are crazy about Pokemon. And so like once a year we can get together because I've got a meeting there or vice versa. And it really is kind of fun because they were in Chicago. This would have been in August or September. And we had Go Fest. So we had Pachirisu. And they were like beyond thrilled that we could trade it, but you could only do one trade. And then it's like, okay, well, you've got other stuff that I want. I have other stuff you want, and we won't be able to do it for maybe another year. And so we did do the friendship, and very quickly we got up to best friends. Is pretty much every day we were trading. So if you had that mechanism in there, it would be worthwhile. Like we're best friends, and we can do a lucky trade or whatever. Let us do it over extreme distances because I think that would enhance the game.
100%. Now, just like battling, it might be hard to actually coordinate with these distance trades, but
Sure.
I still think it would be an awesome addition to the game.
Yeah.
So.
And I think in general, I mean, they've been pretty good about making some good quality of life changes over the years. So hopefully at some point that'll come, but probably nothing till, maybe that's something they implement next year for Go Fest, which better be in Chicago. Just want to say that.
Yeah. Well, here's to hoping.
Yeah.
They've got it down to a pretty good system there in Chicago. So.
No, it's worked out really well, and it is centrally located. And I think it's cool that they're doing more. Like you've got Germany, they had the Montreal one. Obviously, Japan's got one. So, I mean, I think they really should try to do more of them. But I like having this one really big global one that people come from all over.
Yeah, exactly. Now Niantic, they're starting to get their hands in a lot of different cookie jars, and they just this past week announced yet another AR game that they have in the works. So this is Catan World Explorers. Have you played Settlers of Catan before? The board game?
No, I've heard about it, but yeah, not really too familiar with it.
Yeah, so they've announced an AR version of Catan, and the description is there's only a couple of paragraphs here, 3 paragraphs, but the graphics look a lot like Wizards Unite. That's more similar to Wizards Unite than it is Pokemon Go, and I love Catan. I'm just trying to figure out how it works as an AR game. Based on the description, it sounds like it's gonna have teams. Go figure, since all of their AR games have teams, and you are racing to acquire victory points in the game. And so, for those who've never played Catan, it's a game where you build up a settlement. It's a settlement building game where you use different resources to build towns and cities and roads and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out in AR form.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm glad that they're pushing it. I think we're going to see more and more of this, right? There's lots of rumors about, more Google Glass, Apple coming out with something with augmented reality. So I think it's pretty cool that they've got this. And I think Pokemon Go is in the right place at the right time with, of course, a ton of IP. So I want to see where they can keep pushing this because I think Wizards Unite, I enjoy it. I still play it. But it's kind of like, I do my dailies and I do community days. But it's kind of the mechanism of doing your casts every day. It's not as fun to me as catching Pokeballs. Taking a game like this where you're doing the settlements and stuff, and you can see more of what you're creating, I think that could be really intriguing. And I'd like to see that kind of take off because I think there are just swaths of areas that these games could go into that they haven't done before. And if they get to the point where they have glasses or something that's relatively non-obtrusive, these games could really take off because that would be cool. I mean, sure, it's cool to look at your phone and see this stuff, but if I can wear something and have it in a mode where all of a sudden I'm walking down the street and I see Pikachu or whatever, that would be really cool. So I think this would be something I'd definitely dip my toes into and see what it's like. And who knows, maybe I get hooked to something else.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how many teams that they have. So in the board game, there's 6 different colors, and in the top image, it shows 3 different colors, and in one of the screenshots, it shows a 4th color. So they might have 6 different teams, possibly.
Wow.
Um, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, because I imagine that some teams are just going to get completely overrun.
Well, yeah, and you went from the 3 with Mystic, Instinct, and the best, of course, Valor, and then go to 4 with the Hogwarts, the different houses. So I can see going up to 6, because I think there is some value in having that community and saying, okay, I want these teams, or I want this group, and to cater to those different types. And I don't know enough about the game to say what that would be, but I also think it does create some fun stuff. Obviously, we're joking around being on the right team or the wrong team, but it again, this gameplay just continues to evolve, and it's to me is so exciting. So here's to it. So when did they say it would be out? Or is it just too early?
They
right
haven't
now?
specified yet, but you can pre-register if you go to CatanWorldExplorers.com. So,
All right,
we will just have to wait and see. There is
fantastic.
no estimate on it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they've learned so much, right, from the challenges of the initial go live with Pokemon Go. Wizards Unite went out pretty strongly, and we really don't see too many of those issues anymore. And I think that in itself is a good thing, because now you can focus more on the content and the gameplay, because that initial startup is so important. And so yeah, we'll see when maybe it'll be next fall.
There we go. Do you know what time it is?
Joe, is it time for random trivia?
It is time for random trivia. How did you know?
Oh, but where's the echo?
Mike will do that in the post.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's time for random trivia. And this week I actually wanted to talk about Giovanni. So you may or may not have already faced off against him here in Pokemon Go, but he has been around since Generation 1. He has spawned a ton of different rumors, from people thinking he might be Ash or his counterpart Red's father, to all kinds of crazy stuff. So Giovanni is a mafia-like character. He in Generation 1, he's a gym leader. He is the leader of Team Rocket, whose goal is to get the strongest Pokemon and use them to basically do whatever they want. To use the power of Pokemon to as their muscle in the world. With that mafia theme going on. And he has popped up in let's see. He's popped up in Generation 1. He's popped up in Pokemon Go. He's in the anime, of course. He's popped up in Generation 2. He's popped up in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Popped up in Black 2 and White 2. Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. He's in the Let's Go games. He's in Pokemon Stadium. I mean, he's all over the place. He is the big bad for the longest time.
Gotcha.
In the anime, he uses Mewtwo to fight. That's where we get the armored Mewtwo, is from Giovanni. And he, so his his gym is kind of a weird gym in Generation 1, because all of the Generation 1 gyms have their own specialties as far as type goes. But
Okay.
his gym, I guess if I had to say a motif, would just be strength. Because there's fighting type Pokemon, there's normal type Pokemon, there's ground type Pokemon, and poison type Pokemon. I think that's all of them. I might be missing a couple. But yeah, so he's got a slew of different types that are represented. Um, One of his main Pokemons that he uses is Nidoqueen, Persian, and Rhydon. And yeah, by the time you get there in general, especially Generation 1, he isn't that big of a challenge at that point. Um, and definitely not in Generation 2. I mean, in Generation 2, it's the gym leader that has a Miltank that most people stumbled on. Yeah, which is kind of funny in and of itself. But sorry, excuse me. And yeah, he even pops up in I mean, he just pops up all over the place. So he is the biggest bad throughout Pokemon. And I've always thought that the theories of him being Ash's father are kind of silly. But you know,
It's kind of a weird Star Warsy kind of parallel.
yeah. Well, so Ash's father isn't mentioned hardly at all, and so yeah, people have all kinds of different weird theories when it comes to Pokemon. Some of them more believable than others.
Yeah.
But
And this is one of those areas that, I mean, I'm always interested when you talk about this because I don't have the backstory, I don't have the history, yet there's so much there, and it's fascinating. And I think it was sometime over the summer, I went on Netflix and started watching the original anime, and I was just like, I was beside myself, like, oh my god, this is so cool because here's the game come to life, yet it was from 20 plus years ago. And so it is really then I think that's the one thing that Pokemon has against almost any other game is you have such a vast treasure trove of information, backstory. So if you're into it and you have the back knowledge like you do, Joe, it enhances it, but it doesn't detract or take away from someone like me who's just learning this stuff. I mean, I'm replacing all sorts of really critical information with the name of 300 some Pokemon.
oh no, there's over 800.
Yeah, great. As long as I don't forget things like my daughter's birthday and my wife's anniversary, I'm good.
Yeah, you should be good to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Giovanni, love to hate him. His portrayal actually is kind of as a potentially redeemable villain. There's different times where he respects Ash for his dedication and kind of wonders if he should be he wonders about the bond between Ash and his Pokemon. So but yeah, so this has been a wonderful episode. If you wanted to contact us, you can, well, Barry, you can reach out to him at Fulk B on Twitter.
Right. And yeah, most of social media, it's probably the same. So it's FU LKB, and reach out to me, and love to do that. If Joe, if I may,
Mhm.
happy to have some more friends. So my friend code's 5540-4580-7252. So happy to got a few spots that I could use, or I could just remove Rock out of podcasting because he never sends me gifts.
Does he even play anymore? Do we even know?
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't heard him on the podcast.
No,
Don't worry.
he should be back next week. And if I, so next week with it being Thanksgiving on Thursday, we're going to
Right.
actually be recording on a different day. We're going to record on Friday, and I believe we're going to try for 2:30 p.m. Eastern as our record time.
Sorry, I've got a dentist appointment at that time.
Oh, why? And we're
Yeah,
actually
Joe, come on, Joe.
tooth hurty. Um, but we're actually gonna do, and we're gonna have to see how well this works. But our plan is to do a call-in show for our patrons on Discord.
Nice.
So we're gonna have a voice chat set up there where people can join us and talk about their experiences and whatnot. So that is the plan for next week. That is again Black Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. And you have to be a patron. So head on over to patreon.com/Pokemon GO Podcast if you want to get in on that. Every tier gets you access to the Discord. So
Yeah, it's as you know, I've been a patron for a long time, and I'm thrilled to have gotten the cool 3D printed stuff. Gotten the picture you brought when you came up from Chicago. So it's a huge value. The Discord group is great. Love hanging out there when I can, and and support the show. It really is the best Pokemon Go podcast out there.
oh well, thank you. And if you'd like to reach out to us, you can send an email to show@PokemonGoPodcast.com. If you would like to actually have your voice on the show, you can go to PokemonGoPodcast.com, and there is the Speak Pipe tab on the right-hand side. Click on that. And
Or you can let Joe sleep at your house for Go Fest.
That's right. And then I'll invite you on the show. If you want to see the sources ahead of time or add sources like a couple of people did this past week, you can go to reddit.com/r/Pokemon Go Podcast. If you prefer social media, you can find us on Facebook at Pokemon Go Podcast or Twitter at Pokemon Go Pod. If you'd like to tune in live, like we have quite a few viewers here tonight, you can go to twitch.tv/Pokemon Go Podcast. Normally, we record at 8 p.m. every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. But again, next week, Black Friday, it will be 2:30 p.m. And it'll be a special call-in show.
Very cool.
If you wanted to get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Squirtles shirt, I thought we were going to be safe.
Oh no!
It looks like it is no longer there.
Oh no!
We have been. It has been removed.
Congratulations, that's 2 now.
That is 2.
Oh no!
So we will probably be putting back up the original T-shirt while we design a new T-shirt. But you can go to tiny.cc/G S T U. So to grab some of the other giant size team up shirts that are available there. But yeah, so we'll need to design a new shirt there. And then we do have a YouTube channel. We would love it if you would go over there and subscribe. It is the Giant Size Team Up YouTube channel. And there is a folder in there specifically for Pokemon Go Podcast. But right now, the channel is a whole bunch of random random letters and numbers that were assigned to us by YouTube. Once we reach a certain threshold of subscribers, we can actually pick our name. So we would love it if you would go out there and subscribe. That would be awesome. You can follow me at Joseph_Ard. You can follow Charles at RockGodOfPod. And those are both on Twitter. And like we mentioned before, you can follow Barry at FulkB. And if I'm not mistaken, Barry, you have a podcast yourself, do you not?
I participate in a couple, but primarily there's a Apple Macintosh based one called For Mac Eyes Only. And it's been around for a long, long time. And one of the fun things that they do is they do a festival in Chicago every year called Macstock. and it's a great community-based event just west of Chicago. Mike Potter's the host, does a great job. I've helped out with some of the social events in the past, and it's just a great chance to meet up with everybody. And the amazing thing is it's actually hosted in Woodstock, Illinois, which is the home of the Terry Wolf. So Terry usually hangs out with us a bit. And sorry we didn't get to see him this week, but hopefully he's doing okay and recovering from his Stardust addiction.
There we go. And tune in next time to theoretically hear Charles in his triumphant return.
Yes. Well, I can't wait. So thank you so much for having me on, and great chatting with everybody in the Twitch chat tonight. And thanks again.
All right. Stop the recording there. Stop the recording there. And this is the point of the show where you can vote on the title of the show. Let's see. Is Nicole still in here to put that on? Let's see. I will do it. All right. So follow the link that I just put in the Twitch chat to vote on. Oh, and there's only 2, and they are almost identical.
Yeah, so let's give Lady Jasmine credit because she had it first, and it's better.
So your choices are Brian Ibbott,
There we go.
the gateway drug, or Ibbott is my gateway drug.
See, we still love you, Brian.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Barry.
Hey,
This
Joe,
was a lot of
it's my
fun.
pleasure. Thank you. I really appreciate you asking me, and glad it worked out. And yeah, if you need a fill in, certainly happy to do so. I'm just good that I was in town, so I had my rig with me. So I'm not traveling for a while. Although here's a not going to happen, but I kind of wish I could make it happen. So as you know, I do travel a lot,
Mhm.
and the airlines have their stupid loyalty programs, and I'm just short of miles. And so I need to do a mileage run. So basically you find a cheap trip somewhere, and they've actually made it harder because it's now dollars and miles. So I've got the dollars covered. I don't have the miles. I'm like, where can I go? Oh, let's see. I need Tropius and I need Chatot. And there's one place that has them both, and that's South Africa.
Yeah, I was going to say Madagascar, South Africa, somewhere.
Yeah, it's not cheap, so I won't be going there. I'm desperately trying to see if I can find a cheap flight to South America. It will get me the miles and a chance for Chatot. I'm like, man, that would be awesome. Because that's the kind of person I am.
So my wife actually lived in South Africa for 3 years when she was growing up. Her dad took a job there. So.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've never been there. But it was like $5,000. I'm like, no. And but if I can get to
pretty big drop in the bucket.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if I can find a flight for like 500, 6, 7, maybe, like I was thinking, like I've never been to South America, and that would also work if I go far enough south to Argentina or Chile. It would have Chatot. So I know. I have a problem.
There's worse problems to have.
Well, yeah, but and that's part of when I have to travel a ton is that I'll spend time in the evenings, with a group, whatever. But at some point, I'm like, might as well try to catch something. And I got the blue shellos when I was in Vienna and Czech Republic. I was hatching like crazy trying to get Mr. Mime or Mime Jr., and I did get a couple. So it's goofy, but it's also, as my wife says, I could have worse habits. So
it's very, very true.
Yeah. So, and all that. So, well, thank you again. I'm going to go grab some dinner, but thank you again. And let me know
thank
if you
you
need anything
everybody
else.
For coming tonight.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. All right. Take care, Joe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.